Hi, I'm Lisa Wallem with Directional Learning, and today we're going to write our next set of letters. We call these road letters. Notice how each letter has a road. Look at our red reptile tree, it has a road. Look at our small mountain, it has a road. And even our candy cane has a road. And an easy way to remember the candy cane is a road letter is because it hangs from the red reptile tree. Remember, we can hang candy canes from trees. Our other letter is our palace. Notice how it has a bump pointing towards the red reptile tree or towards the right? Well, it's a road letter. See the road? And when you make this sound, it makes the p sound. Your lips come together. Notice the lip is here. And also this is our king, and notice his crown and leg point towards the right. And same thing with our hill. The hill has a bump and it points towards the right or towards the three direction. And our bouncy bed, remember we call this the bouncy bed? It has a bump and the bump points towards the red reptile tree. So it's a road letter. Notice they all have roads. And notice on this tricky letter too, your lips come together when you say this sound. So now that you've seen all what our letters look like with the picture. Now, of course, we're going to take the pictures away and we're going to help you write these letters. Just remember, they have a road and it points towards the right. Okay, now we're ready to write our letters. But first, I'd like you to have a whiteboard in front of you and make sure you label your columns with our direction and make sure you make your line down the middle. That's where we're going to write. And make sure that you have some markers. Now you can pick any color to write your letters with. We want to remind you that before you start road letters, you should have watched two important videos. The first video should have been LMR123, and everything has direction. Remember, directional learning teaches about direction so we can teach you in direction. So make sure you watch those two videos before doing any of our curriculum. Also, make sure before you start writing road letters that before every lesson you review what you did before. So you should start off sorting the letters so your teacher or parent can call the sound and you sort the letters. Or you can simply watch our video on sorting letters and you can sort letters with us. Then make sure that you practice writing your tongue letters with your teacher or parent or watch our video. So make sure before every lesson that you review what you did before. So make sure that you do the reviewing. Then it's time for you to start the road letters. Our first road letter that we're going to design is our red reptile tree. Let me get our red reptile tree for us. And remember, the red reptile tree, it's a road. And do you notice that it has a road here? I think of this as a tree, and this is the branch. And the branch hangs over towards the red reptile tree, towards the right. So, or the three direction. So how I think about this is I throw the seed down, then the tree starts to sprout and the branch goes over towards the right. So that's how we make it. So I'm going to be pink today and I'll show you how to do it first and then you can write it. So remember, it's a seed. You throw the seed down, then the seed starts to sprout up and it makes a little branch over towards the right. And there's our red reptile tree. Remember, it has a road. The road points towards the right. So now you try it. Throw, just to remember the story. All you do is you throw the seed down, and I'm going to be green. So you throw the seed down, then it starts to sprout up, and you put the branch over towards the red reptile tree, towards the right. Then you got the red reptile tree. So do you see? This is a road letter because it points over towards the right or towards the three direction. So you made your first letter. And an easy way to remember the sound is the sound we're going to remember for this letter is ra, ra, ra. Think of dogs. Dogs like trees. And when they like things, they say rough. So think of the first part of rough. It's ra, ra, ra. So you made your first letter. Our next letter we make is our little mountain. Do you see our little mountain? And please take note, our little mountain, do you see that it has the red reptile tree in it? Watch, I'm going to bring it out. So that's how you start the letter. You make the red reptile tree and then you finish making the mountain. So do you see the red reptile tree in it? So that's how we make this letter. So I'm going to be pink and show you how to make the letter. So remember, it's the same thing. You make the red reptile tree and then give it a branch and then make the rest of the mountain. And that's your little mountain. Now you try it. Remember, you throw the seed down, then it goes back up, put the branch, then give it a leg on that side to make the other mountain. Notice the legs are even, and that sound is my little mountain. Pretty easy. My next letter I'm going to make is and it looks like that. Do you see it? I call this one my favorite candy cane. Favorite candy cane. And notice that this has a hook, like a candy cane, and the hook points towards the red reptile tree. So we make the hook. Then this part right here is the ribbon. So then we give it a ribbon. We finish it off with a ribbon. And the ribbon goes from the 1 to the 3 side. So that's how we make the favorite candy cane. And remember, candy canes can hang from trees. So see? So it's hanging from the tree. And if you heard it in the tree and the wind was hitting it, you would hear because this part is the ribbon. Remember, it's a fluffy ribbon. So that's how we get the sound. So now let's make it. So first we make the hook towards the red reptile tree. Then we finish it off with a ribbon from 1 to 3. Now you try it. So make the hook, then give it a ribbon. And always cross from 1 to 3. So you just made the favorite candy cane. Make sure you're doing the sounds. Our next letter is P, P, P. And if you remember, that's our palace with the road. Do you notice the road? And remember, this letter's special. It has a road, so it's a road letter. And remember, when you say this sound, P, P, your lips come together. That's what makes it special. So just remember, lips live on this side, and this one is our palace. So your lips come together when you say this sound. And remember, this is a tricky letter sometimes when we write it. So just remember this sound, P, your lips come together. So on this letter here, we're going to write it. Okay, so I just remember it like this. She goes down the elevator, then she comes back up towards the red reptile tree. See the red reptile tree in it? And then she turns the lights on with her pink lips. There you go. Now you try it. So just remember, she goes down the elevator, then she goes back up the elevator towards the red reptile tree. See the red reptile tree? And she turns the lights on with her pink lips. Pretty easy. All right, our next letter is our king, and our king has a crown. Do you notice the crown is pointing towards the red reptile tree? And same with his leg. This is his leg here. Just remember, his crown and his leg point towards the red reptile tree. And with the king, he can be a tricky letter sometimes, but let's design him. So I just say go down the tall building, and then we crown him king. And remember, when we crown him king, we crown him low. See that little dot there? Notice how this dot is lower than this line? So I do an imaginary dot there, and then I crown him king and give him legs. And notice how his leg matches this side? So we crown him low and then give him legs. Let's try that again. We'll try it all in one place. So he goes, say he goes down the building, then you crown him low, so then you put your dot there, then you keep connecting, and then connect his leg. And you made the king. So the king is pretty easy. Remember, you go down the building, then you crown him low, then give him a leg. So now you know how to make the king. And just remember, his sound is k. Okay, our next letter we're going to do is and notice that the red reptile tree is in this letter here. Can you see it? There's a red reptile tree. So this one we're going to make like the red reptile tree, kind of. So this one we're going to say, this is the saying that I say, You run down the tall, tall building, then you bounce back up by the red reptile tree, and then you're over that hill. You're so tired. Okay, so it's a little different how we make it, but it's fun. So you run down the tall, tall building, or you can say hill, then you bounce back up by the red reptile tree, over that hill. You're so tired. So you go down the building, and then you bounce back up. See the red reptile tree in it? And then you go over that hill. You're so tired. Now you try it. So you go down the tall, tall building, because it's a tall, tall building. Then you bounce back up by the red reptile tree over that hill. You're so tired. So you can practice again if you like on any of these letters, okay? So our next letter we're going to make is our last letter, and it's B, B, B. And if you remember, that's our bouncy bed, B, B, B. And this one has a pair of lips on it. If you remember, it has a road. Remember, all these letters have a road. And this letter, when you say this sound, B, your lips come together. So it's another tricky, special letter. But remember, when you say B, your lips come together. And when we make this letter, it's kind of like this letter that we just made. So you go down the tall, tall building, you bounce back up by the red reptile tree to the bouncy bed, ba, ba, ba. And notice that the red reptile tree is in the letter. Do you see it? So just remember, we just make it a little different. So you go down the tall, tall building, then you bounce back up by the red reptile tree, see it? And then to the bouncy bed, ba, ba, ba. And just remember, your lips come together, ba, ba, ba. And remember, the bump points towards the right. Okay, so then now you try it. So just remember, you go down the tall, tall building, then you bounce back up by the red reptile tree to the bouncy bed, ba, ba, ba. And you made it. And you can practice this one a few times if you like. So you go down the tall, tall building, you bounce back up towards the red reptile tree to the bouncy bed, ba, ba, ba. So remember, this letter here has a red reptile tree in it, ba. Now that you learned how to make all our road letters, now we're going to simply rewrite them down here. So I'll call out the sound and then you write the letter. And it's okay if you need to look up here at the letter. Okay, the first sound is R, R, R. And remember, that's our red reptile tree and it has a road. So remember, you throw the seed down, then it grows back up towards, and then gets a branch towards the right. And the sound is R, R, R. Just think of dogs. Dogs like trees. They would say rough. The first part of rough is raw. Our next sound we're going to make is N, N, N. And that's my little mountain. And we make it like the red reptile tree. So make the red reptile tree, then give it a leg. And there you go. And remember, the bump points towards the right and it has a road. And the sound for that is N, N, N. Our next letter is F, F, F. And that's our favorite candy cane. And remember, it hangs from the tree and it has a hook. So make the hook towards the right. Then give it a ribbon from 1 to 3. Make sure you're saying the sounds. Our next letter is P, 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 and that's our palace. And our palace has a road. And remember, our palace's bump goes towards the right. So just remember, she goes down the elevator and then she goes back up the elevator towards the red reptile tree and she turns the lights on with her pink, pink lips. P, P, P. So see, the bump is pointing towards the right and it has a red reptile tree in it. Our next letter we're going to make is K, 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 and we call that one our king. And remember, the king, you go down the building, then you crown him low, so make a crown low, then give him a leg. K, K, K. Next letter is H, H, H. And can you remember how to make that letter? Do you remember? You run down the tall, tall building, then you bounce back up by the red reptile tree. See the red reptile tree? And you go over that hill. You're so tired. And this one has a red reptile tree and it has a road towards the right. All our letters have a road. The next letter is our last letter, and it's B, B, B. That's our bouncy bed. And remember, we kind of make it like the hill, and it has a red reptile tree in it. So just remember, we go down the tall, tall building. Then we bounce back up by the red reptile tree. See the red reptile tree? To the bouncy bed. Ba, ba, ba. So you just wrote all our road letters. And remember, we call them road letters because they have a road in them. And some of them even have the red reptile tree in them. So now that you learned that we have road letters and you're able to write all our road letters, now you can learn how to write our middle letters. That's next. Remember, learning how to write the letters and linking the sounds to the letters is going to help for reading and spelling. So we thank you for watching Directional Learning, and we can't wait to teach you more.